Hi, I'm Sarah Backhouse of Future 360. We are at UCLA to hear from Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa and former Mayor of Toronto, David Miller, to hear about a mayor's role in greening cities.
Here's two mayors which have very appreciable international leading histories and legacies in terms of leadership of their cities in the areas of environment and sustainability.
Growing up in LA in the 1950s, you know, I think looking at some of the people here, not all of them.
Yeah, be careful.
You know, we remember when we couldn't go outside for pee, when the air was, you know, strangling you, if you will, and choking the lifeblood out of the LA community. And growing up here with smog, the way I did, I've known for a very long time, certainly since I've been in public life, how important it is for us to address air quality. And in a couple of weeks, I will be signing agreements to get completely off of coal by 2025. There's a big difference between mayors and cities and their role in climate change than there is national governments who have filled this responsibility to kind of say, well, I've done my part, you need to do more.
The example you gave about smog, I think, speaks to why mayors are effective and why we act on this issue. Part of it's from moral beliefs and ethical beliefs, particularly around climate change. National governments have been shameful. A mayor's job is to make real practical change that people can see. And you know, if you grow up in a city at a time where there's a significant smog problem, which has huge health implications, all sorts of implications, many of which cost the public purse a lot, you know, it's the mayor's duty to try and change that, and people can literally see it. On environmental issues, though, the people of Toronto expected leadership. And I was able to get a climate change plan that adopted the Kyoto targets and put massive funding into it, funding that ended up being in the billions of dollars over 7 years, really significant funding, through council unanimously. And I think that spoke to a whole range of things. You know, the mayor has to show leadership, but it also spoke to the fact that civil society had been waiting for action on the environment. They weren't seeing it at the national level, and they'd put their hopes into the local level.
What is the general advice you can give to the next leadership and coming up when they're going to have to tackle in their cities issues of energy and waste? They're going to have to build those consensus. They're going to have to get people to sign on. What's the secret formula that you guys have had that allowed you to be so successful?
Well, I'll tell you, for me, and I mean to say it, I mean, I think it's, I believe in it, I'm driven, I push hard. I've used the bully pulpit, I'm not afraid of it. I am the mayor, and there will only be, there may be an election going on, but there will only be one mayor until, you know, June 30th at 11:59 and 59 seconds.
Leadership is the number one thing, absolutely. And you know, I read a little bit about the mayoral election here in the newspaper yesterday and today, and what I heard from the candidates was criticism of each other. I didn't hear that kind of leadership, particularly on environmental issues, and I think that's what people look to, and I think it's very, very important. Two things I'd add to that: real actions. It's very critical because I believe people have lost faith in politicians a little bit.
Yeah.
And they want to see the real actions and tangible things that make a difference. And that's why I think it was important when you said our goal is 20% renewables, that you did it. You know, even if some of it was a little more expensive than you felt. Very important. If you want to get rid of smog, you got to do that. You have to close the coal-fired plants. So I think that real actions. And the third thing is engaging the community. You know, one of the programs we passed when we adopted our climate change strategy was a program called Live Green Toronto, which was about community engagement. And we put a substantial amount of money, I think $120 million, into little tiny grants to help the community do the right thing, which might be urban farms, it might be tree planting, it might be community scale solar or geothermal installations, which works very well in our climate.
Conserving, I mean, you know, not using the energy in the first place is the best thing you could do. We put a clean air action plan and a clean truck program. We've reduced truck emissions by 80%. We've reduced sulfur oxides by 70 6%. We've reduced diesel particulates by, I think, 69%, and so nitrous oxides by 51%. Game-changing, the most far-reaching effort to clean up a port in the world. We have proposed this, a clean tech corridor downtown, because we think one of the things that incentivizes people to want to do more of this is that they make money. And so what we're doing is developing a sector in this town that is focused on developing those technologies. We also use the same amount of water that we did in the 1970s. We've had a 21% reduction in the use of water since I've been mayor. I upset a lot of these people because I told them they couldn't water their lawns as if we lived, in Toronto. We don't. We live in a semi-arid area. So we've had to limit water use and been pretty aggressive about it.
So I want to pick up on something the mayor said, which I think is really critical. Because your question, Glenn, was where the areas we go forward, and the mayor talked about linking the environment and the economy, and I think that's absolutely critical. And we're not going to achieve our environmental sustainability goals unless we achieve economic goals and social justice goals. So you have a decent society in which everybody can live in dignity, and there's good work. And I think the clean tech and connecting, the cleaning of the port with new technologies and entrepreneurs is a really good example. There's a few others. It's probably a place where the cities haven't got as far as they'd like to yet. I think we've done a lot on pure environmental sustainability. And to do that, you look primarily at three areas. If you want to fight climate change, it's about transportation, how you heat and cool buildings, which is mostly about energy conservation, also lots of new technologies, and about energy generation. And those are the three big areas. And to get transportation right, you have to build public transit, you have to find ways to have low emission or electric vehicles, and you have to build your city in a way that works from a transportation perspective. Now, for built-up cities like Los Angeles and Toronto, that's more challenging.
So I put Measure R on the ballot. It was a half-penny sales tax generating $40 billion and over 30 years. And since I've been mayor, we've opened up one light rail line, one busway, 3 light rail lines. We're in construction in 4 more. It's game-changing what we're doing. Along corridors and stations, just planning to incentivize density, and I know that's a bad word in LA, but elegant, dense, and smart growth around transportation corridors, and that's when we're going to get the game change. That's when we're going to start to change habits. And then, I don't know if you guys followed it, but you saw what we did with the hot lanes on the 110 freeway, and we're doing it on the 10. Congestion pricing is going to happen in this town. We were the only city to get away with it. It was a big fight. The Democrats didn't want it because they said it would hurt poor people. The Republicans didn't want it because they said freeways ought to be free. We already paid for them. We shouldn't do it. But getting a system of hot lanes, that's what the 405 is all about. That's why I got the money for it. Is critical, everybody. We're going to have to make it difficult to get in a car. Most people see, they're increasingly for public transportation for someone else, for their kids, for the people that work in their homes or whatever, at their businesses, but not for themselves.
Whether we're in Toronto or in LA, we're living in a much better city because of these guys' leadership. And the thing is, our kids are going to live in much greater cities. That legacy is going to continue on. And this has been fantastic. I want to thank you both. Let's give them a round of applause for all they've done. As always.